Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Equestrian Vortex. This week we have a guest called Mia Rodley.
For anyone that doesn't know Mia, you are the founder and creator of the Heart Horsemanship and Academy.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
It's
lovely to, well, I know I've met you a few years ago, but it's nice to actually be here and meet you guys and the ponies, and it's so lovely here. It's so peaceful.
Thank you.
It's really, really nice energy.
Oh,
so, thank you so much.
So for those that don't know Mia, you do educational demos, lessons. Do you do training?
Yeah, we take courses in training. Yeah, we do lessons. So kind of lessons and training horses are the day-to-day, and obviously working my own horses. And then we've got our online platform, the Academy, which is kind of like this growing vault of education that we film, like never ending. There's so much to film.
Which I didn't realise. No, I didn't realise.
Yeah. Well, we had an old one, and then this is the new one that we've refilmed everything. It's all incredible quality thanks to my amazing friends. And what's lovely is that Gemma, who's helped me film everything and edit, and she's built our website and she's done all the tech stuff that we were saying. We're outside all the time. Yeah. And Gemma is too. She's a horsemanship student, and she was new to horses, bought her first horse, probably overhorsed herself. I think it's a lot of horse. And she completely committed to the journey of like, okay, I need to learn as much as I can. So she joined up to everyone's academies. So she was like an OG Academy member. Learned loads. Then she started having in-person lessons, and then our friendship developed from there. And now because she's so passionate about it herself, it just like shines through in everything that we do and film. It's amazing. So I am so proud. Like, I love the new Academy so much that, you know, you look back at stuff of you talking or videos of you, and you're like, oh, for Christ's sake, what did I do? Why did I do that? Why did I say that? I look ridiculous as well. They are. They are really special. And I actually said that to Gemma the other day. We were looking back at some older stuff, and I was like, oh, that's Tiago's first ever session at Liberty. And I was like, that's so special to me, because now he's in the team. And now it's like, oh, you're an established Liberty horse and everything. But I was like, oh, he's changed shape so much, and his attitude's changed so much. And so it really, for me, it's like lovely to have, but I don't cringe at myself anymore. Yeah. I'm like, this actually looks really good. That's growth, because you look back on it and you just think, you look at it from like a beginner's eye. And you just think, that's where I started and this is where I've come.
And how lovely, because you wouldn't, like, you may have had it on video, but you wouldn't have had it in a special place. You'd have had to traipse through loads of videos to find that one video of his first journey. You've got it all nicely
laid out. And then it helps other people. Because that's how I learned. I learned just through watching as much as I possibly could. So DVDs, books, clinics, courses, mostly online. Like I started with Pirelli. So I was just an avid member of their Savvy Club, which was this huge vault of education. And that's basically what I'm trying to create as my own version. So for everyone else, and for all the little girls that want to do this stuff with their
ponies. That's the thing, is like the generation now, like when I was younger, we didn't have loads of online stuff. There was like forums.
Really, and then YouTube rather than visual.
And YouTube kind of come out, or it was books, and then YouTube kind of come out when I was older. And then you realise how much is on there now versus like what I would have had when we were younger. It's just completely
different. And there's always that gap of interpretation as well, whereas with a video, it's very like visual for people. Like most people learn visually.
You can see exactly. Whereas in a book, you could, you know, as I say, your imagination can.
And how you interpret them words is very different to some others.
Everyone interprets the same word very differently. Through past learn and experiences
podcast as well.
We had the old Heart Horsemanship podcast, and we're releasing a new one which we're calling Loose Horse Talk. So it's a pun. Loose horses. And then a bit like Loose Women, kind of just like you guys, like we just want to talk about topics that are really interesting, and get different guests in.
Yeah.
Talk
Oh,
about
that'd
the
be
journey.
good.
So
Yeah.
it'd be
We'll
fun.
listen to that.
We filmed
Yeah.
probably 3 episodes so far, and we're just working out like the jingle and the intro that I have to
It
read.
brings back memories of us. The amount of times I had to re-record that.
Yeah.
Well, even now, I'm like stumbling over my words.
So it's a lot harder than people think.
No, it is.
So yeah,
It's when you see yourself.
so we're really close, probably a week away, I reckon.
Oh, how
But,
exciting.
yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So we're choosing jingles on Wednesday, and now it's Friday. So yeah,
Yeah.
close. Yeah.
Oh, exciting.
So, whereabouts in the country are you based now then?
I've been in Northamptonshire all my life
Okay.
until November last year. So we've been in Surrey. We're right on the border of Surrey, Hampshire, and West Sussex. But we're near Liphook, so most of Australians know Liphook because of the vets, which is great.
Sadly.
Literally 5 minutes, sadly. Yeah.
For you, great.
Yeah. Touch wood. Yeah, I'm touching the wall. But it's great having.
Yeah.
They're very expensive, but it's good to have a hospital just down the road just in case. So yeah. Everyone knows Liphook, so we're in Liphook, and I moved down to be closer to my other half, Callum. So he's from West Sussex. He's got a farm in West Sussex where we've got a lot of retired horses and our youngsters. So all the horses live out their days with us until the very end. So we've got about 10 elderly horses.
Oh.
His family's horses, his first ponies, my first pony,
Oh, that's
or
lovely.
second pony.
Yeah.
My first pony sadly passed away, but so all the ancient ones, and then we've got our 3 youngsters there as well. So I've got 2 yearlings, and then our foal that we bred last year, Bohemia, who's by my stallion out of one of their mares.
Oh,
So it's really like a family
amazing.
horse, and she is
Oh.
amazing. She is cracking.
Oh.
If we were showing her, she'd be the top filly in the country for PRAs,
Oh.
hands down. She is cracking. So we're so proud.
We'll have to have a little look.
Yeah, she is cracking. And then and my 2 colts, they're yearlings as well, about the same age. They're Hispanos, so they're Arab cross Spanish.
Yeah.
So they're going to be nice as well. Very excited.
Yeah.
And then we've got all
Let's
our
just
horses
start
at
selling them.
home. Yeah. So we've got then probably 15 horses at our actual home, so our place in Liphook, which is like our working facility. So we've got our arena, amazing hacking. We can hack for 8 hours on the common without touching road. That's where we take horses in for training. It's where we run our clinics and everything. So yeah, we
8
have a
hours,
lovely.
that's lovely.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So my really good friend Serena Cullick, she's a show jumper and a student.
Yeah.
She grew up in Hazelmere, which is, we're kind of in between Liphook and Hazelmere, and she knows all the commons. So whenever she comes over, we just go out hacking all over the place. So
that's great.
it's amazing.
Yeah, I love it for horses as well, though.
Yeah.
Just to not always be in an arena,
Yes.
just get out and explore.
Well, that's the big thing. Like, we do this in the run up to a show. We're just rehearsing every day.
Yeah.
And we're like practice. But then we get really arena bound. Like, we're just always rehearsing liberty, dressage, trick riding, Roman riding, stuff that we have to rehearse. But then after the show, we're like, let's just go hacking for a week. Like, it's so nice just to decompress and get back out there. And the horses love it, obviously. And we don't make it a hard place to be, but it's just so nice to break it up and have the variety for them. So one day we're jumping, next we're hacking, then we're Roman riding, then it's liberty, then it's dressage, then it's like we're
different every day.
I think variety is the key of life, though, isn't it? Otherwise they do get sour. Like horses that you see just don't
that hate going in
because
arenas.
that's all they do.
And that's a big thing in show jumping and dressage. Like you'll see it, even the biggest shows, they get led in. The horses are like, no, don't want to go in there. And for me, that is probably the biggest part of our philosophy is like, how can you get your horse to want to do it as much as you want to do it? Because it's not fun if they're
You're
not
forcing
having
them
fun.
to do it.
And don't get me wrong, there are hard days, there are hard lessons, you have to go through some stuff that doesn't feel nice for you or your horse, but then you're always doing it for the horse, never to the horse, and then it's always at the other side. You're like, this is the fun. This is why we went through all of that, so we can be here.
Yeah.
And then it's a really nice journey to develop the partnership. So that's kind of the underlying ethos. So so in answer to your question, very long-winded tangent, we're in Liphook.
See where this So I was going to say, how did you first get into horses? So are you not from a horsey family background?
I'm the complete black sheep. None of my family are horsey. My granddad had a farm, and there were horses on it because they make more money than sheep, but it was just a DIY livery. He knew if one was dead, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it looks like I'm dead in the field. Okay. They know nothing.
Yeah.
But my ex-step-grandmother, so my granddad's ex-wife, bought the pony from the meat man. She felt bad for it, and she was foundered, so like extreme navicular laminitis.
Yeah.
And they decided to breed from her, as you do. And the product of that was Posey, who became my first pony, who she was rejected by the mum, so she was completely hand-reared by a completely non-horsey family. So she was a little nightmare. She turned into this monstrosity that was extremely dominant, extremely aggressive, would bite, kick, rear, very sassy, very cute sometimes.
Yeah.
And then she was put out with the donkeys that we had. So she never really learned any social behaviours or anything. She was very challenging, very sassy, opinionated horse. So that was fun. And then when I showed a real interest in horses, my family were like, Mia can have Posies. Yeah. And they're like, great, off she goes, because I was, working at the stables every weekend.
Yeah.
We used to have this card system where if you worked 10 free weekends, you got one riding lesson. And then my auntie used to pay for me to have lessons and take me to the stables, and I grew up really traditionally on horses, but I was just always obsessed with them. It was that connection, and animals in general. I loved dogs, I loved cats, I loved all animals. I loved the wild Thornberries. Where Eliza could talk to all the animals.
That's what I want. You took me back to like childhood there with that.
It's a great show. But so had Posey. She was super difficult. Got thrown off almost every lesson. I got to the point where I wasn't actually really enjoying riding because of falling off and hurting myself, and I got airlifted, and she was really
pushing boundaries.
And my traditional instructors were just not like, it was just like, oh, hit her, she's being naughty, whack her a bit harder. It was just not enjoyable for anyone, and I couldn't catch her. She hated me. I was like, this just isn't the picture that I wanted, where me and my pony had this great relationship and she was my best friend. She hated me. I was like, oh, why don't you love me? And so I was literally just ill at home one day from school, watching TV, and Pirelli Natural Horsemanship came on, and it was Rachel Morland, who had similar story, wanted a horse, got a horse, was going through hell, found natural horsemanship, and then got to live her dream of galloping down the beach bareback and riderless. And obviously that was my dream. So we've all seen the black stallion. And I was like, that's it, that's all I'm doing. So I think I was about 12 when I first saw that, and then I just got completely immersed in Pirelli, which...
As in... with the books and stuff, or
books,
you involved in their courses?
So I read everything. I'd read all the Monty Roberts books already. I was just filling myself with as much knowledge as I possibly could. I was such a sponge. And then I was really lucky, they were running a clinic down the road. My mum's friend took me, who I then met another friend, and Brenda was at this clinic, and she really took me under her wing, and she used to be a really high up vet in DEFRA. So my parents really respected Brenda as well, so that was great.
Bingo.
Brenda was like, you can make a career out of this, and they were like, no, but but at least, she had my back, she was amazing. And then she used to take me to all the clinics she attended to spectate.
So did you do that with Posey? Was it Posey?
Posey I kind of grew out of,
Right, okay.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
So she was only 12 pounds.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
when you're hitting 13,
Yeah.
I was suddenly very leggy and long. But I had another pony that was a livery at my granddad's. I took him on loan.
Yeah.
So he was like an unstarted 4-year-old chestnut Welsh cob, flaxen mane and tail, called Harry. And he was like my everything. He was the one that took me through, learning about natural horsemanship, doing the groundwork, started filming some of my Pirelli levels that they used to have. And Pirelli as a people training program was fantastic. And obviously, knowing what I know now, there are bits that I would do differently. But back then, it was such a great system for me just to learn the step-by-step ways of getting started.
It was the only thing really around, wasn't it? So if you wanted that route, that was the only way to really go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was lucky there was a support system there. There was a great community. It was amazing. I was so lucky. I met some amazing friends who I'm still great friends with today that I see weekly. And, it's now been, I'm 27 now, I was 13. Oh, my God.
Oh,
yeah. A long time now. And so Harry was like my horsey soulmate. Still to this day, I don't think I've had a connection as strong with horses.
Is he even here anymore?
No. Tragic. It was like my childhood trauma. So Harry, because he was only on loan, after my year's loan, the owner took him back and sold him for more money than my parents could sum up, because my parents were like,
oh no, so he was taken from
that's I still cry now about it.
And you trained him as well.
Yeah, so I got him started. I know.
Oh, but that even for him, he probably hated that.
Yeah. It was so sad. And then a few years after that, the fruitiest thing. And I know you guys like a bit of rumor.
Yeah.
So I was a working student at this point, so I'm 18, 19, living in a caravan, working for Sean Coleman, and I come out to the team, and I'm like, I had a dream about Harry last night, and one of the first people I met, Jodie, knew Harry, and she was with Brenda, one of the first people I met. She was a working student with me. She was like, oh, that's bizarre. And I was like, I haven't thought about him in ages. Chatted. Didn't think anything of it. Next day, get a message from a girl that was on the same yard as Harry, and she went, oh, Mia, I just want to let you know that he got kicked and put down yesterday. But how weird.
He visited you in a dream.
Oh, don't.
Oh,
cry.
Oh, dear,
I'll end up. So moving on. So that happened in the box.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely though.
Yeah.
That you've got to take that as a nice, peaceful moment of appreciation for him, bless him.
Yeah. But it was then like I went back to my friend and was like, I was in tears.
Cool.
And she's like, what's happened? And I was like, Harry died yesterday. And she's like, you had your dream yesterday. And one of those things. So, But
if it gives you any comfort, I really do believe in reincarnation, so I feel like we'll probably manifest back
come back somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, bless him.
Yeah, so he was just cracking though, like gorgeous pony, and did so much with him. Galloped around bareback and bridleless everywhere, played at liberty everywhere. I had the free run of my granddad's farm, so I just go wherever I like. And it was so wonderful growing up in that environment where we had with my ponies in woodland and pasture, lakes, like it just felt like complete freedom. Yeah. And that's what I just adore so much.
And once you have that, you can't then go back, can you?
No, and then the horses love it. That's what a horse is made of. It's just that freedom in open space, connected, playful. Like that is what they are designed for.
Yeah.
So that's what all my, now today my own program taps into that. So it's like, okay, how do we get it to where we can be connected, have fun, have this friendship, play with each other in freedom.
Yeah.
It's just
Which is what you see when you
Yeah.
see you working with your horses.
Yeah.
So that does come through, 100%.
Yeah.
And you two, just whichever horse you're working with, just generally enjoying being in each other's company.
Yeah.
Which you don't often get to see, like especially at livery yards, and
Yeah.
people constrained by like rules and not allowed to do this, not allowed to do that. It's
Yeah.
very hard to then be at one with them.
Definitely, totally get that, because I know I've got students obviously that aren't allowed to have their horse loose in free school.
That's a lot.
You know, and then we're like, oh well, how can we? Or they can do groundwork, but they're not allowed to lunge, and you know, how can we set this up to be? Or we can do it in the field, or you know, it's how can we work it out better? Or you're not allowed to do it in the field because it'll upset the other horses. You know,
there's so much of that.
Yeah.
But then, as an owner, you've got to take that responsibility and make a move.
Yeah.
As terrible as that sounds.
Exactly, for the happiness of your horse as well, and the well-being of your horse. Because most of the time it's postage stamp little paddocks. Which,
but it's like you said earlier, they're normally set up to please the owner and the human rather than the actual needs of the horses.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's changing. I do think there is a big change happening now.
Yeah.
So it's lovely seeing more herds and happy horses in like the track systems are fab as well. I don't think it would suit all of my horses. I've got one that needs to go on a track system for sure.
That's
kind of cool. And then all the others can live in the mill. But it's lovely to see the changes happening.
Yeah. So when you lost Harry, what then followed from that point?
I had, luckily I had Brenda, my amazing friend. I got to play with and work with her pony, who was quite advanced as well. Like she really knew how to be ridden riderless and do liberty and everything. So I could kind of carry on where I left off.
Yeah.
And she was a cracking pony, and I got to do pony club with her. I did a little pony club demo with her when I was 13. And Brenda helped me print out these flyers of what I was doing and
that's
how.
great.
And I was the weird one.
I think we all are.
They were like, what? Why is your horse not in another head collar? And why have you not got a noseband on? And my tracks was the fastest to clean every day. I was like, just a headpiece, easy peasy in the reins, no bits of leather. Everyone else had grackles and martingales and breastplates and all the
You
rest
forget
of
about
it.
them things, don't you?
Yeah.
I remember thinking the first time, I remember seeing someone's face when you walked on the yard walk to the back of the running halter, and me being sniggering underneath because their faces were like.
I remember
shocked
one of the yards I went to. I literally turned up in my dad's car with the trailer, and I got the two boys off, and they're both show jumping type horses, which I don't do. And I actually got them off the trailer, and they're like, "I'm so confused by her. She has a Pirelli head collar, a really long robe, but they're all barefoot."
That's so funny.
But I don't understand, and I was just like. I think Nick had hoof boots on at the time.
Yeah,
she was really sure on his feet. She was like, "Do you not want to put shoes on?" I was like, "No," and just walked off. And I was like, "They don't get me."
Yeah,
so confused by it. So confused.
And there are definitely still those riders out there. But then that's the whole thing. I love to lead by example. Gemma, my lovely friend, we're chatting about this. We get really triggered by this negativity almost. Where they shame people for stuff, where it's like if your horses do have shoes, you're terrible, or and how natural horsemanship actually has gone a bit the other way, where everyone's just pointing fingers. And the problem with that is everyone's walls go up, they get defensive, they're never ever ever going to look at what you do with curiosity because you've just made them feel wrong. So I've got some wonderful friends that are really traditional show jumpers. And we know each other through a different walk of life. Where we've worked on film sets together, and they're great people. And then I see what they're doing with their horses, and I'm a bit like, "Oh God, okay." But I'm not going to say anything. They know what I do.
You're there if they need you.
And then of course I get a phone call. "Oh, I've got a horse that I can't mount. Can you come and help me?" And then all of a sudden,
feeding back the legs.
Nosebands that get rid of the flashes, and now they're in cavesons. stuff starts changing, and you're like, how interesting.
But if you were judged, they would never come to you for help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm really
safe space.
exactly, and lead by example. Don't make anyone feel wrong because they're just doing the best they can with the knowledge they have.
Yeah.
So you can't blame anyone for that. We've all been there at one point. So
and a lot of it's because you don't know.
Exactly.
Or you've always done it that way. And it takes a lot for someone to go, I'm going to do it a slightly different way.
Yeah.
Whereas if being open-minded was a little bit more common, you wouldn't feel so tentative of making that leap.
Yes.
But it is because people judge.
Yeah.
It stops you from sometimes reaching out to something, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And then you were very brave for
parading
your road halter and barefoot.
I've never done parading. I just really loved the vibe. I like that feel between.
It puts a much better feel down it.
It is hilarious.
I totally get that. I had a friend the other day. She was having dinner at mine, and she went, "Oh God, I've taken my horse's shoes off, and I'm going to do a demo with hoof boots, and everyone's going to laugh at me." And I'm like, "You're preaching to the choir." I had to do that the other week. One gets a bit sore, put the boots back on, happy days, grass is coming up.
Fine,
So it's not a big deal, and I'd rather support my horse's hooves in a way that's not going to detrimentally affect them in the future, just for a little interim, and then they can be without hooves again. It's just a no-brainer.
It's just a process as well. Figuring out what is best for your individual horse.
Exactly, because some do need shoes. I will say that.
We have gone full circle.
Yes.
So we were very much pro barefoot, almost to everyone else. And then you come round to the idea of actually you just need to do what's best for that individual horse.
And in that moment in time, because it changes. When I was competing Spirit, he's Spanish, he's really camped under, got low heels, and then the amount of collected work we were asking him to do with passage, changes, pirouettes, he was getting really sore over his back and almost a bit lame behind. And we had an x-ray head to toe, MRI, we did the whole workup, and they basically just went, he's got pain in his hocks and SI because of how low his heels are and how camped under he is conformationally. So we put shoes on. For that moment in time when I was competing, he then had pads, raised heels, everything, sound immediately. All the pain went away. Didn't need to medicate anything. It was just helping him with his conformational posture for the level of work I was asking him to do at the time. And it's hard because then I was like, should I even be asking him to do this? Should I ask him to do all this stuff if he can't do it physically? And the vets are like, oh no, of course he can. Just put shoes on and put pads on. And so I've been down that road too. It was like 200 quid a set. They were that. They were all special remedial ones. And skeletally, he's like, his bony pillars are to the outside anyway, so it was took a lot of time to shoot him for what he needed. But then we did it, we competed, he was sound, he was happy, he wasn't in pain anymore, he was able to do everything I asked him to do. And then when I stepped away from competing, I just took him barefoot again. So, and now I'm just mindful of always trying to trim the heel, but that is part of the process, isn't it? As you say, every single horse is an individual. So, and if it helps their overall health and well-being, then you have to do it. That's that.
100%.
I think that's what I learnt with Buster, my first rehab one. With my first horse, I learnt everything that I could with managing horses, and he fitted very nicely into my box of this is how I want to be and how to do. And so everything I learnt with him, I was able to put into Buster. But he then made me go, you need to think outside of the box because they're not all the same. So you have to constantly question, constantly think, is this the right way? Could I do it slightly differently? Just be open for change, I suppose.
Definitely.
And it's not just one hard, fast rule for all.
That's so important. So important.
And then, so you was doing...
I was kind of low, sorry.
That's fine.
Tangent.
This is what happened.
Back to the question.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm just going to move you a bit more because I feel like we've moved.
That's okay. So I had Brenda's pony, Maddie I was working with. I had loads of different friends, horses I got to work with. So not having Harry actually then gave me the experience with doing the same thing with a lot of different horses.
Yeah.
So it was a blessing in disguise, because I probably, if I just had Harry, I still probably have him to this day, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But he'd be like the ultimate best horse ever, but I could only do it with one horse.
Yeah.
So having all these different personalities, different types of horses, like thoroughbreds, New Forests, warm bloods, everything in between, really got me learning how to apply these to different horses, all the same methods and techniques. And then in the pony club, they got really handy with me, like, oh, a horse can't load, get here. And then the funny thing, going full circle again, that Pikeshly Pony Club have emailed me saying we'd love for you to do a bridleless and liberty demo. And I'm like,
take me back.
Yes. And then the funniest thing is that Aylesford Cross Country, which is where Serena's based, so I'm going to get, she doesn't know this yet. She really asked Serena to come and do the demo with me so she can jump bridleless like 140 and
wow.
Yeah. So it's like she's competing at the highest level and can
still do
and
this
all her horses do liberty and groundwork. They all can be ridden bridleless or working towards that.
Yeah.
So she is proof in the pudding. It still works, and actually it's helped her in competition. So
because I think people think, oh, you're either in that camp or that camp.
Yeah.
If you want to compete, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But like it's just showing the next generation that it's
completely
doable for everyone.
Yeah,
100%,
because it's just expanding your horse's education.
Yeah.
So and having them being able to think through different situations and stay connected. That's the number one thing. Because if your horse is connected, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Anything. If they're disconnected, you can't do anything. So it's like if you have their mind, which is what liberty is obviously my passion, if you have their mind, you can do anything physically. So it's having that heart and desire and not just physically making them do something with their mind elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because then it's impossible.
Yeah.
So it's I think that's where it is. Liberty is so critical in general horsemanship and competition.
Yeah, it is.
Or just
That's
that mindset in it.
Yeah, I was saying to you earlier, like when I had Twinkle, everything kind of just comes.
It was easy.
It was easy. But when you go out of that and then you get something like Winnie, and you're like, she's just off with the fairies. I don't know how to, like, and when she's off with the fairies, she's spooky, she's not with you, nothing's going your way, it's tense, and you're like, how do I change this?
Yeah.
And it is about connection. As soon as you get the connection, they're different horses.
Yeah, completely.
And then everything becomes so much easier, other when they injure themselves, but it's so much easier.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would anyone not want that?
Yeah. And I think, again, it is happening. It is changing.
Yeah.
So, it's exciting.
That's why I think it's important that like more people showcase what they do to get the word out there.
Yes.
And then you can just pick whichever kind of ethos that fits nicely with what you want to be with your horse.
Yeah. Totally agree.
And it's how you started with Pirelli, but you are who you are now. Doesn't mean that Pirelli's wrong. It just means you took all the best bits and you put them into your best bits.
And I've learned from loads of different watermen and women.
That's it, yeah.
I spent time with 2 excellent classical dressage trainers having a lesson a day as well. So Peter Madison Greenwell, so he specialises in Spanish horses.
Yeah.
So I started one of his horses in return for lessons, and then
Is this when you was younger, kind of thing?
Yeah, he's based at my granddad's yard now.
Oh, okay.
When I was still in Northamptonshire. And then we had a very difficult problem horse come in that I got safe, but he knew all Grand Prix movements. So once he was safe, I got to learn all the higher level movements as well, or how I'm meant to ride them and how they feel.
Yeah.
So I was really lucky. And then with competing and working equitation, we had monthly training with Paulo Santos, who's a Portuguese rider and trainer. So I've had loads of that, loads of classical dressage.
Yeah.
Also learnt a lot from Mike Bridges, who's a California Vaquero horseman. Over in America, he comes to England every year for a clinic. Don't think he's been the last couple of years though. But whilst I was in Florida with Pat Pirelli, he lived down the road. So every Sunday I'd go and spend time with Mike, and then we'd have lunch together, and then we'd go watch show jumping. Like, it was great. I loved it. So I was really lucky that following the Pirelli system and program gave me that foundation. So
Pat,
my story carrying on. Sorry, it's all
No, it's
all over the place. So quit school, finished school, lived in the caravan. My parents were really not happy about me choosing horses, so I was told you either go to uni or that's that.
Go get a job.
Or you cut off and that's that. So moved out, lived in the caravan, worked as a working student for Sean Coleman for 2 years. He helped me get my level 4 with Solo, who was now my first proper horse that I had. My granddad got him for me.
Yeah.
Just, a very skinny, wormy horse from Ireland, super cheap sort of thing.
Yeah.
But loved him. And he was a very challenging horse. So again, I got really good with all these ponies.
Challenging.
And then suddenly I had this one horse that wiped out all that confidence I thought I had. And he was that horse. And then Sean helped me get to level 4 with him. Sean Anley's his wife. And then I groomed for Pat at one of his UK masterclasses and sat down with him. And we were chatting over the table. And he was like, okay, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And and this has always been my passion. So he was like, right, come to America. We'll get you to be an instructor. So I went to America.
So you literally just went?
On and off over 2 years, visas and everything.
Yeah, cool.
So, and spent a lot of time in Florida and Colorado with Pat and Linda Pirelli. And they're brilliant instructors.
Ecstatic.
It was amazing. It was unlike anything else. And I learned so much being out there, not just about horsemanship, but about, teachermanship, how to work in a team. I was always great at being in a team.
Yeah.
Really in it for community. I think that was always the thing, because my parents didn't support what I was doing at the time.
So
I sought it in other people and places. So and I was so lucky to have the support system and people that I did have around me, and I still have to this day. It's just phenomenal, and that is where support. You don't have to have the money. You don't have to have. I had all these limiting beliefs of you'll never make it in the horse industry if you don't have money already, or unless you marry someone really rich, or unless your family's already horsey. And so, on another tangent, I did a Tony Robbins seminar. When I was 19, I think.
That's young.
Yeah.
That's young to like.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It was great. And that was really good because it really helped me, and I still look at the book to this day. Like, we brought it out the other week to flick through it, and I was like, I want to go on another one. This would be great. It'd be really fun to go back and see. But reading through it, like, my mission back then was like, I want to share what I've learned and what I get to have fun and doing. Like, it was all about sharing it. So I was like, cool, well, that's my job now. So I was like, great, amazing, living my purpose. Literally. So I feel really like everything in my life is so aligned now. I love it. So still hard, don't get me wrong, like,
of course
we have to work hard. And it's
maybe it's a different type of hardness, I think.
Totally. So I was really lucky to have like that, all those limiting beliefs demolished.
So where did you find him?
I've always listened to that kind of stuff already.
As in on a podcast?
Before podcasts.
Yeah, that's what I meant,
it was like before that, but on YouTube, on like any videos, he had already CDs, I used to play in the car. So I was already down the rabbit hole of mindset and everything, because I knew that everything with horses was about personal development. So yes, you've got to know the techniques and how to be and when to be and why and when to quit and all of that and the techniques, but a lot of it is who you are first.
I think that's so interesting you said
that.
I think people really, like, as an onlooker with someone that's not horsey, when they look, because I often think my family think I'm nuts, but when I say, well, the horses taught me that, and they're like, how? Like, like, you can feel the look of like, what do you mean? How do you take everything
that's
back
like
to
my
horse?
family.
But it is. Like, you don't realise how much they make you think about everything
yourself.
But everything that I've ever learned through horses is so like transferable to just being a better human. And vice versa.
100%.
Like, it's actually nothing really to do about horses, it's about you. Like, it's crazy.
And that's why it's because you was probably so in tune with it. That's why at such a young age you've gone for that straight route straight away. But you're like, I know what I need to improve.
Well, I knew it the minute I was like 13 and was like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That was all in. And my family and friends, they were like, well, what about plan B? What if it doesn't work out?
There is no plan B, that's what I'm doing.
I was like, this is it. This is the only way. And it's still like that to this day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really funny. Looking back at that.
Yeah.
I was so stubborn. As a child, I was like, no, I'm doing this. That's
it.
Stubborn, determined.
I like stubbornness though.
Yeah.
I had this like conversation with my friend. I'm like, she's a Korean, she's stubborn. I'm like, it's good in certain situations, you need it.
Yeah, it's like the grit.
Yeah.
You've got to have sometimes, and the persistence.
Yeah.
Like, we've all been out there with a 2-hour session with a horse, and you're like, is this ever going to change? Or like loading.
Oh, God.
And you're there, and it's like, I'm trusting the process. Like, and then the minute you start doubting it, the horse just gets on, and you're like, oh, it works. Great. I trust the process, yes. So,
God, that hits home.
I just had a loading moment.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was
so many months.
So you're like, oh.
Yeah, been there.
You know how it feels.
Yeah.
So relatable.
So right, okay. So we've just done. We're now in Florida with Pat Rowland.
Yeah. Done my time in America. So we did young horse colt starting. Got to teach each other because I was there with other externs from all over the world. Like lived with the Italians. They were the best. They were like so expressive. So I always had this.
So passionate.
Mia, what are you doing? And they were so funny. And then the Swiss are very precise and very serious and just like, no, that's not funny. Okay.
I'm flying somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I was the only person from the UK.
Oh, okay.
When I was there. And it was so funny. So yeah, I had an amazing time with Pirellis. I was an instructor for a year, and it was actually really hard for me to walk away from it. Not in a place of not walking away from Pat and Linda. They were amazing. They'd done so much for me. I was really lucky. I went out on a full scholarship, so I didn't have to pay anything because I was a working student.
Yeah, cool.
With no financial backing, with no family support, and no way of paying to be an instructor. No way.
Yeah.
So I worked really hard.
Yeah.
To when I was there as well, and had a great team around us as well. But I felt like I owed them so much. I was like, I can't walk away. But as a 1-star instructor and with the corporate system they had, I wasn't allowed to teach liberty and I wasn't allowed to teach finesse, which was dressage, which are like my 2 best things.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't allowed to do demos without having to go back out for another 2 years to study. And I was like, this is the stuff that I'm really good at. This is the stuff I really want to do. And now because I'm just a 1-star, I've got to be a 2 and a 3-star to do the other bits I want to do. I was like, and it was actually with a little nudge from Ben Atkinson, who was a really good friend, especially in that moment of time, was like, I actually think you need to do this, go on your own.
Yeah.
So it was a big deal for me.
So it's a case of just kind of saying, like, I'm grateful for being
and everything you've done.
I've got to let that go.
Yeah.
So how old
I
were
didn't
you
realise you were
21. Yeah, so I've come from that background, but then was very lucky to spend a lot of time with Ben.
Yeah.
Obviously, originally inspired by Frederick and Jean-Francois Pignon. Had posters of them up in my room when I was a little kid, cut out from Pony Mag.
Yeah.
Of them at Hoy's. I'm like, that's going on the wall. So I was visualising all the time. I didn't realise. Exactly.
Yeah.
My whole room was a collage, literally. No wallpaper. It was blue tack stain. I took everything down. My parents were like, oh, yeah. So, so funny. But so then I started up kind of teaching freelance, learning more and more. But when me and Ben were working together a bit, me and Ollie, my other really good friend, helped him with his.
Is this Ollie Phillips?
Yeah, Ollie Phillips. Yeah. Helped him put his team of 4 together of Malik Mojo, Spirit, Stablo, and make them really solid. So it was like in his early days of that. So I watched how we put a team together, and then it was lockdown. So it's like
that's where we are. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the timeline, And so I loved lockdown because it took all this pressure off of me of having to hustle and teach and everything. And I just had all day, every day to work my horses. And so I had the whole of lockdown to put my first Liberty team together. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
And did my team of 4. I had Solo, my big challenging horse, my big chestnut, was the anchor horse. He was in the middle because now he's my most experienced and advanced horse. You know, he's so solid. When I need him, just pull out Solo. There he is. Pull him out of retirement again. He's like, yep, okay, here we go.
I know what I'm doing.
But he's massive compared to everyone else because he's 17.2, all the others are 15.2. So I always had to slow him down so that the others didn't get frustrated about having to speed up. But then he got frustrated, he wasn't in his natural rhythm. So it's just easier having them all the same size. So he's not in the team anymore. I can put him in and out, but it's just easier. And so Solo was in there, and then I got given a problem Connie, who then came into the team as well. So I then was kind of playing with horses coming in and out, and I just got pretty established at working a team over lockdown. And then came out of lockdown with all this fire and energy and enthusiasm. And had the most amazing time because I loved the piece. And I was so lucky because my horses were at Sean's at that moment in time. And he shut the yards to all the liveries because obviously a lot of the yards were told to do that and that, social distancing and everything. And he was like, we can't be double standards for everyone. You can't come. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't not have my horses.
Wow.
And so I had a student at the time who went, I've got a spare yard.
Oh, wow.
You can just put them all there. And of course, amazing. Spare yard. So it's 7 acres, arena, stables, perfect. Complete privacy. I helped her with her horse twice a week to help her to be able to afford the private yard because obviously none of us earn any money as well. And then I just had the most magical time with just being in with my herd of horses, just me and them every day. We made so much progress. It was amazing. Just having the freedom to work my horses every day and not have to worry about anything else.
And then just in your bubble.
And then loads of creativity came out of that. So it's when I then designed my logo. Came from a little scribble. Had a stunty friend who had done some videography for the showcase and everything. But it's funny now, I'm dating a stunt man. They know each other.
Everyone
through that industry. It's so
how
funny.
do you know Ben and Ollie and all of those?
It was just
to begin with.
Me and Ollie were friends first, and then he took me up to Ben's, and then me and Ben met at Bolsover Castle because Peter, my classical dressage trainer, performed at Bolsover alongside Dominic and Ben. I'd ridden in Bolsover. Was curious, went to watch Ben at Bolsover, got chatting, stupidly similar, like unbelievably so. We loved all the same books, the same music, the same everything. So there is definitely a type of person because now having met Will Rogers, who's got a Liberty team, very, very similar again. And then I met Kaylee from Braveheart Beast. Same thing. We're like the same human again. It's really, really weird. It's strange how similar. There must be a thing about Liberty and Liberty teams where you've just got to have a certain personality type to be able to do it. So funny. But and then we were all just friends and messed around with horses.
But how lovely that it is a community where you all support each other instead of
Really
rivalry.
Yes.
That was what was
you
so
can
lovely
see that.
at the Horsemanship Hub Showcase. Was it's just one group of friends.
Yes, all playing ponies.
Literally,
It's amazing. It is so lovely. So and then it's just developed from there. So I've not officially had any lessons in building a Liberty team. I don't think anyone has.
No,
Ben hasn't.
Oh
no.
Figure it out.
There is one guy in Australia, Sam Watson, and he taught Lorenzo, and he also taught Emma Massingale, and he also taught Will. So he's got like this mad 20 horse Liberty team.
Wow.
But he's given it up, and I think, don't quote me on this if it's 100% true, but a lot of his team passed away from liver disease. So it's home
Interesting,
again.
yeah.
So because I was like, oh my god, half my horse is I've been through that. That was a hard lesson as well.
Oh wow.
He is someone that does teach it, but you've got to be all in 100% committed.
Oh god, yeah.
So because in the country there's only me, Ben, and Emma in the UK with teams. In France, it's a lot more popular, and in Europe just do everything amazing. They're insane. Then in Australia, I think there's 2, and then in America, I think there's 2. So it's a very niche.
Because you had Will over last year, didn't you? I was gutted. We was doing something. I can't remember
it was really last minute.
I can't go.
Yeah, because it was really last minute.
Didn't you see it the day after?
Oh,
yeah.
It was, you were like,
no, it was the day before.
The day
It was the day before, and we was going somewhere. I was like, I can't play up the horses again. I found me something from other, and I was like, I can't do that. I was gutted. Gutted.
He was amazing to have over. So good, and he's so lovely. And actually, me and Kaylee are going to help Will on his next big project.
Really?
In the Dolomites.
I follow his course online. I did that. I think he's brilliant.
He is brilliant. Yeah. So good. So and then obviously he's really good friends with Tristan. He's really good friends with Yvette from Feather Light. So
she's
amazing. And it's just, again, I love how everyone's just powering towards bettering the horse.
It's just about what you do with your horse, just you can make it better.
Exactly. Everyone's underlying message is like, make the change so that you and your horse can live your dream. Basically.
And I think it just says there's no need for that anymore. There's no need for the harshness anymore. That is here, there's proof. You can get to a really high standard with it. And you've got like that Elise from on that did dressage to a really high standard as well. And I think when she did that, I don't think it was the Olympics, but it was like a big dressage show, wasn't it? I can't remember which one it was.
The like entertainment.
That's it.
Dressage show.
And I think everyone kind of sat in the thing like,
that was what was needed.
And you're right, it is the showcasing of it. That gets it in the public eye, because it's all very well doing it at home and getting great results, but it's actually really challenging doing it away from home.
I can imagine.
Experience.
I can imagine.
It takes a lot of preparation and time and training to get your horses okay. And oh, my lovely friend Sarah, she's a groom for Ben, and she's one of my good friends. And we always joke about the crazy things that we get put next to at shows. So this year, and she was like, Mia, you need to make a reel out of all the photos. And so this weekend just gone, we had the tractor pulling going on 50 metres. And these are like drag racing tractors. It sounds like a jet engine is being started up.
My God.
All these plumes of smoke, 50 metres from the main arena during our show. And that was a challenge for one of the horses. All the others coped really well, but we've got one that's fairly new and noise sensitive, so he was a bit like, wah, about that. And then we've had pottery smash the week before, going off like during the show. You know, like the old game, just chuck stuff. Smash the pottery.
What's next?
Bagpipes, we've had the chainsaw carving man right next to us. All sorts of guns. They're quite used to guns now because they do a lot of shooting on our estate. They're shooting today actually. They do like simulated clay shoot days, but so my horses are fine with guns now. But everything, anything, that we get put next to at shows. Well, I just love it. It always makes me laugh because I'm just like, oh, these people don't know horses. And it's nice because I like them to have a quiet place or, have shows be as relaxing as possible, but it is really good training at the same time. So I know they're just fine.
But that's a really good mindset aspect of instead of being like going to panic mode and running to control all the externals, actually be like, well, let's just turn this into a positive and what can we get out of this experience?
I did get a little bit cross at the last show, only because we ended up being super late. We chucked the horses in the main arena to graze, so I was like, at least they think it's a nice place. We weren't going to have time for rehearsals, it's dark. And 10 cow showing people walk in with their cows. And my horses are okay with cows, but they're not expecting them to walk in the arena. So of course, tails go up, flag tails. running around, can't catch half of them. I walked over and I was like, could you not see there are these horses in the arena? And they just ignored me. And I was like, it's just basic livestock etiquette. Like, don't walk into, I wouldn't do this to your cows, you know. And I was so angry. I was so angry in the way I get angry, because it's really hard very hard to make me angry. So, but it was funny. It made me laugh. I was like, oh, I need to work on this.
I need to work on doing comedy with cows.
I know, it's just random. It's just random stuff that you have no control over.
You have to give in.
So you have to surrender yourself to, like, and actually Serena messaged me. She did the Great Yorkshire Show, which was only last week. She was like, this show's made me really appreciate how much your horses have to be connected, because obviously riding them with reins and a saddle is one thing, but we've got no reins, no saddles. They're at liberty a lot of the time. You know, I am 100% relying on their connection. I can't.
Anything could happen at any point that you're like,
exact tractor pull goes off, and then I'm like, oh, great, here we go. So, but luckily they were all really good. So it just makes me laugh. But it's amazing how much they can cope with as well, and how they can learn to be okay. They're like, oh,
well, it just shows it, doesn't it? It just goes to show exactly what that connection you have got.
As long as you can, the trust. As long as you can be the leader, they know that you are going to keep them safe and comfortable. That's all that matters.
What goes on.
Exactly. That's all that matters. So
would you say there's a specific person that's influenced you the most?
Oh, that's really hard, because I've had loads of amazing people, horsemen and women, influence me. The inspiration, I think, has always been Frederick and Jean Francois, and the Black Stallion. Stuff like that. That was always the inspiration. But the influence, I'd need like a list as long as my arm, probably.
Well, you'd listen to
a lot of them,
That's it.
I've had like again when I was, I found it really hard being a working student, not having the support of my parents, that sort of thing. I had an amazing friend, Annette, who's an amazing psychologist, and she lived on site at Liz and Sean, so she took me under her wing as well. So I've had all these amazing people and friends
all along the way,
all supporting me, and helping me. So she was amazing for me to be able to help me through turbulent challenges and come out the other side brighter. And
literally manifested all these things in the right places at the right time.
Happens, So it's
I think that's what happens when you're living your purpose. Everything just falls into place, doesn't it?
It is. It falls into place, but you really have to trust
the process of it.
Because there have been some awful situations at times. Last year was incredibly difficult for me, but then now I'm through it. I'm like, oh, that's why that happened. Because now it's shoved me onto my path again when I was drifting off. So it's like,
be in the moment. That's the worst thing in the world. You can't see what's coming.
Exactly, because it's like everything's terrible and nothing's going right, and you're like, oh, but I'm working and trying, and why is this not working? And then that's why. So it's really interesting. I think my big thing is trying to trust the universe more. Surrender to the universe, because I do trust the process, but not in the times of stress.
If you're a doer as well, that's really, really difficult, because you want to be the one that's like taking action and
making it happen.
So to just surrender is really hard.
Be like, okay, this is shit, but okay,
it's shit for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
That's your love.
Patience is mine.
How do you stay motivated when you are in that kind of situation? Like, obviously, I know you've got the higher belief of the universe. But what would you say is the thing that maybe helps you when
it's just horses for me. So if everything else is chaotic, I just go back to working my horses every day, because that is my original inspiration. So that's what keeps me motivated. Because the things that are going wrong, like, of course we have injuries with horses, but it's usually business or people or external stuff that isn't important to. Well, it is important, but it's not important to me. Like my horses are the most important thing. So, and like having an amazing supportive boyfriend and Callum. He is just incredible.
Yeah.
And he's been so healing for me in so many ways as well. So he's amazing to have. So if I've got my health, my horses and Callum, I'm pretty A-okay, and we can navigate most situations. So it's, but the horses definitely keep me motivated. Day to day. And then I think now, in my purpose and in alignment again, it's easy. But then it's easy when it's easy, isn't it? So how do you stay motivated when it's not? And I think it is just go back to what inspired you as a little child and keep that feeling.
Going back to, because we often say that, don't we? Like when you think back to when you first got a horse, and the most amazing part of it, like for me, was being able to leave my horse to the field by myself.
Aww.
Like by myself, I get to be in control and take my horse and put it in the field and be like, oh, I did that.
Yeah.
And I was trusted to do that. Like that was a massive thing.
Yeah.
And then you look at yourself now and you're like, I do that all the time.
That's
but, back then that was like
pivotal.
Massive moment. But it's insane.
I love that.
Yeah. What do you think are the must-have qualities of a good trainer, horse trainer?
Oh, that's a good one. I think, and this is funny because I'm so flexible now, but I think it is the flexibility. So like the ability to adapt to change.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
you always talk about sorting.
Oh, it's so funny. And then, but that's also because that's what we need our horses to be. So we have to be what we want them to be. So I think it's the ability to adjust to fit any situation in a non-emotional way. Like don't get emotional about it. Just be like, okay, cool, that plan's changed, let's do this. So you're always still on your path. Like say you're training with your horse and training horses, you've always got your end goal, and you turn up in the arena with your plan for the day, and sometimes the horse just is not. The horse is just not in the frame of mind for that, and you've just got to be like, okay, cool, that's still my end goal. I'm not going to change that. But today, now, this situation has to change for you. Mm-hmm. So it's being able to adapt to fit the situation and not get bothered about it. Because some people get so upset by change,
they do,
or lack of certainty or rigidity, and then other people get really upset by that. So, and I think I'm much more wishy-washy and flexible than I didn't used to be. So I've almost swung the pendulum a bit too much the other way, and that's fine because I know it'll settle in the middle. So I need a bit more consistency at the moment. Well, I do and I don't actually. I can't really say that because I am being super consistent, so I can't say that. But maybe with my horses, I don't know, with the training, it's like being consistent every day, adjust to fit the situation, adapt.
I think a lot of people probably really struggle with, you know, like especially with liberty work. I think when we've watched a few like clinics where we've gone to places like that, you get a lot of people that are really upset by their horse not wanting to be with them.
We've all been there.
Rather than it being like a training situation. Because I think a lot of people used to see, well, probably still do, they see liberty as a magical thing. Because that when I see that, when I was a little girl with the Pinions, I was literally like, oh my god, because he's magic, he must have been born with that ability. Like, where did he do that? But as you start doing things and you see other people doing things, you think, this is generally just training.
And that brings me on to my quote.
Okay.
My quote is, it's not magic to get there, but it's magical in the end. So it's not magical day to day doing your training. It's really boring sometimes, but then it's magical in the end. And when you said magic, I was like, oh yeah.
It's so true though, isn't it?
It's I totally get that. Because it's almost a bit smoke and mirrors sometimes.
It is,
It's a special secret ingredient that no one
and
can
generally
know
that's
about.
what I used to think. I used to think it was magic, Not that it's not magic, because it's still magical.
It's magical when you're in it. When it's all going well and you get those amazing moments, that's when you're just like, oh my god, this is amazing.
100%,
when it really touches, again, your inner child and you're like, this is
what it's about.
100%. We just had a session with Mia as well, with two of mine.
And we got that.
Oh, it's the best. I was just like, I've been really struggling, thinking, like, how am I ever gonna not let her eat bush and just do stuff with me instead of eat the bush? And now I'm like, Mia's here one day, and I'm like, wow, but magical moment, because literally we've just had the best Liberty session we've ever had. I'm like, this is insane.
And it's lovely for me to watch as well, because I know how good that feeling feels.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
so then I'm feeding off your lovely feeling. I'm just like, yes, this is amazing. It's completely selfish, really.
It is though, isn't it, to an extent? But I don't care. It's lovely. You can still something.
Amazing.
So through the teaching side of things, what would you say is the number one most common struggle you see owners have with their horses that you help them with?
Oh, well, I'm going to say lack of connection, but that's like a super umbrella term.
Yeah.
Because it is lack of connection.
Yeah.
But I think the hardest one day to day, like horsemanship issue. And obviously I pull a lot of people interested in groundwork and Liberty now.
Of course, yeah.
But it's all lack of connection at the end of the day. So in my head I'm going all hacking or bolting or trailer loading or you know, things I see a lot of, but it all boils down to lack of connection at the end of the day, especially stuff out hacking. And bolting, that is just disconnect immediately. So, and a horse can bolt at the walk, you know, it's they can still be marching off with absolutely no thought back to you whatsoever at the walk. So it's I think now with a lot of my students now are really regular, so we're kind of just building up, and then I come and troubleshoot every now and again, but then it is like trailer loading, bolting, you know, I get the odd one here and there, but it's interesting. I'm going to use the umbrella term.
That's fine. So who has been your most challenging horse to work with, and why? And how did you work through it?
So I'm going to say Kiko, who was a Palomino PRE stallion. I had him for training years ago when I was still at my granddad's yard, and he was kind of one of the first horses I did professionally. And he's owned by my wonderful friends in Cambridge, Yeguada Silama, which is a Spanish horse stud who bred my two, Boogie and Mo, who are actually half brothers to Kiko. And Kiko was super aggressive to other horses, pretty aggressive to people. He pulled away. Now, pull away horses are probably the hardest ones. And then he's a stallion. And then he tries to attack other horses.
Nice.
Like, he was just... He was actually great to load.
I love how you found the positive.
And he was positive. Good to handle in the stable, real stressed head though, like never really settled, never really found relaxation. And it was a bit of a do or die case, because they were like, if he doesn't come right with you, we're going to put him down because he's so difficult.
Which is a lot of pressure on you.
A lot of pressure. And I tried for 3 months doing Liberty groundwork. Used to jump out of anywhere as well. Like the day we loaded him to bring him to mine, he got upset. He actually loaded really well, was waiting in the trailer really well, but some mares came past and then he flew out, obviously. And he jumped the 5-bar gate, ran through a barbed wire fence, got in with the other horses with the 22-foot line, dragging behind him sort of thing. Came away with no cuts, don't know how. Because he literally ran through a barbed wire fence. Like, he was so difficult. And it was just because, again, lack of connection. He was and he didn't really know what to do with himself. Like, when he was free and loose, he'd just make terrible choices. And you're like, no, don't do that. Oh my God, no, don't do that. Like, everything was just he was going to kill himself, someone, or another horse. Like, he was that bad. But beautiful. Like, stunning, gorgeous horse. And so I worked for 3 months trying everything, and I got to the point where I'd fixed the pull away, but I was leading him from the stable to the arena, had a rope halter on with a 22-foot line. I had a bridle on, I think, with another 22-foot line, and then I had a lariat over his nose as well. Because he was so quick and he knew how to pull, I had to do whatever it took to actually just get him to the arena. And then once we were in the arena, I could work with him. But then I had to have someone standing at the gate. He'd even try and challenge the person at the gate, like try and jump out if he got loose. because I'd be working him on the ground in the arena, and then I tried to do him in a round pen. He just jumped over the round pen, obliterated the panel, ran off, sort of thing. Like, just this horse was just so much. And then it wasn't that he'd run off and be peaceful. He'd run off,
cause carnage,
run into the next field through the fencing, start attacking another horse like he's trying to kill it. So I can understand why it was do or die. Like him and this young horse Zafiro, one of Peter's youngsters. That was the day he jumped out of the round panel, destroyed it through the fence into Zafiro's paddock. Zafiro was actually faster and more aggressive than him, but and Zafiro was super aggressive as well. So these two Spanish horses going at it.
Oh god!
So Zafiro literally caprioled Kiko in the face, and I think it gave him a moment of shock where I could get in the middle and get him out of there. But I think it shocked him because he'd never had another horse challenge him like that. But they were going to kill each other. You know, it was terrifying.
Yeah, that's hard.
So this is a hard one to say on the internet as well. This was do or die case, time pressure. I actually made him lie down. So I forced him to lie down. And it's not something I would ever do again or take lightly or do anything like that. But I was like, I've exhausted all my options. You're going to die. I'm going to try it. And I'd seen it done with the Pirellis with an extreme horse that was very similar, like do or die case. So I knew how it was done. I'd never done it myself. I'd done another one with Sean, very similar, again, do or die case. And I just want to make it super clear, it is the last resort. So, because it can injure the horse, you can get injured. I know it's commonly done in other practices, like in the film world, teaching horses to lie down, you just rope them. You know, it's one of those things.
But you didn't take it lightly.
No, it was a big deal. So, managed after about an hour of fighting with him to get him to lie down. He got up in a different horse completely because it's the ultimate yield. So they have to let go. They have to give in. They have to yield.
I suppose it's like the two challenges of two stallions.
Exactly. And I was like, again, it's always for the horse, never to the horse. So he was, and I loved him. I loved that horse. I don't know what there was with him, but I think because he was he pushed. Like I'd nearly cry after every session.
Because he pushed you to that limit.
And I was like, do I hand him to another professional? And I was like, I know what another professional's going to do. And then I was like, I'd rather do it myself.
I think that's the hardest thing, isn't it? When you know that you're actually good enough. And you know what someone else is going to do.
So I might as well do it.
You might as well just do it.
Exactly. So managed to get him to lie down, and he laid down there probably for 20 minutes, completely flat, and he's like puffing and blowing, and I'm just stroking him all over. And then he finally stands up, and as I said, different horse. So he never pulled away again. He can now be turned out with other horses, which is incredible.
Really.
I then got to be able to ride him. I then actually taught him the lie down as a nice trick. So once he actually was like, oh, that's not so bad actually, I actually taught it the nice way. So with the stick, with the treats and everything. So he got it anyway. He got a great bow, got him backed. We could lead him off the rope halter everywhere. I could trust another person to handle him as well. Because that was the other thing.
I was going to say, when you give him back, how about someone else? So.
They had one situation where he nearly tried to pull away, and luckily his owners, they didn't breed him. He was, I just want to say this, his behaviour wasn't the cause of their handling, because they handle horses so well. I will always get babies from them because they're the best raised babies I've ever met. So my two are the best raised. He came from a different breeder, and they bought him as the stud stallion because of his pretty colour. He's well bred. So and then realised, like, holy crap, this horse is really hard. So that's why he came in. And that's actually what started my relationship with this lovely stud. So it was Kiko, and then I took Boogie and Mo, and lovely relationship in the end. But he was by far the most challenging horse. And honestly, the day I had to drop him back, I cried so much. I know. And it's a lot of pressure when you're the only person that can handle a horse at the time. Like, I couldn't go away for those 3 months. So I was like, I have this horse that no one else can deal with. And I've got to muck him out. And lead him, and and we couldn't turn him out because he was get out all the time. Yeah. So I had to exercise him every day. I wasn't going to leave him in the stable 24 hours. I was like, you have to move. So it was a lot of pressure back then, but I was super proud that we got through it. Not through the means I would have liked, but it worked.
It worked.
And in the Buck film, the Buck Brannaman film, he does the same thing with a very aggressive stallion. He ropes its back leg and kind of tries to get it to do the ultimate yield, but unfortunately that one ends up being put down because the owner wasn't on board and everything. So
I was just going to say the alternative is him no longer being here. You managed to then go on and do everything they did with him.
So he had one moment with his owners when he was dropped back, where he went to pull away and she managed to stop him, and he's never done it again. That was it. So, and he was notorious. Like, you couldn't hold him for longer than 5 meters, he'd be gone. Pull away horses are the hardest. Because they're mentally disconnected again. They don't want to be with you. They know how to get away. They're often really strong. And you're like, oh, rope burn, there I go. I've got a little one there. So it happens, but and then Liberty was the saving grace of that, because then I got this amazing connection with him. So he was wicked. So and now he's sired some foals, so he covered naturally without killing anyone.
That's massive.
I know. So, and Boogie, my black boy, has had a brother by him, so it's like 3/4 brother to Boogie. And I'm like, and I'm like, Boogie's amazing. He's like best horse ever. So I'm like, then Kiko, I was like, Kiko was really difficult, but I don't think that was him.
No,
that was how he was raised. So that was a human's doing, not him. Because once we got through all of that, he was amazing. Insane. Beautiful soul. So he was.
What a lovely story.
He was.
I feel like we could go on and talk forever. We could get back for around 2, 3, or 4 parts.
We need to hit our last 5 questions, don't we?
So we asked everyone the same question.
Great.
So, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Just what popped into my head is like, don't stop believing.
That's how I asked it.
I was like, don't stop believing.
Don't stop believing. No, I love that.
So funny that song was like, it's so cringy.
We love cringe. What lesson have you learned through horses that you use in everyday life?
The adaptability one that was spoken about. Adjust to fit the situation. Still working on it. I'm sure we all are.
Always will do.
That one.
We wasn't sure whether to ask this next one, but I feel like you've qualified into it. So Kel can ask this one.
What would be the wackiest rabbit hole you've ever gone down?
Oh,
we have a bit of woo-woo.
That I've gone down. I don't know, because
we can come back to it if you want to think.
Because I know I've got a great friend, Chris Roy. I don't know if you guys might have heard of her, but we call her the Horse Witch. She's one of these magical, amazing people.
Find her.
I've gone down her rabbit hole a couple of times with some horses, and she's one of these people that asks the universe what the horse is asking, and she douses and does body work as well, and she's helped save some incredible horses. So she's very cool.
Sounds interesting.
I don't know the wackiest thing I've gone down.
Horse Witch is fine.
She's a good one.
What has been your biggest fearful moment, and how did you overcome it? It doesn't have to be horse related, it could be in general.
Fearful moment.
Or maybe you've never had a fearful moment.
I've had some, I think last year was really difficult with people.
Right.
So, and managing that. I think I've got a fear of rejection, 100%. I think obviously it's a very human thing.
I think it's
anyway.
Fair.
But navigating that and not losing myself within it. That was probably a big moment for me.
So how do you think you can overcome it?
Support again. And then going back to why So always remembering my why with everything. So always going back to the horses. Always immersing myself in that, and they always guide the way back. So
What is the one thing you wished you'd learnt sooner?
I'm pretty lucky I started quite soon.
But I'd say you did though. I'd say it's fair enough.
Some
Because
people
I was
learn the whole life.
surprised.
I am, and I know everyone goes, "Oh, I wish I'd learnt about this sooner," and I'm like, I can't say that. So because I was really lucky.
No, you've got even the mindset thing at the two
Yeah,
so that's really young to be heading down that route.
I think more trust in the process back then.
Yeah.
So if I kind of knew it, but I didn't know it. And again, you're going to find new levels of it.
I think that comes with life.
Yeah, this is what we say. Like sometimes you'll hear something and then you hear it in a one depth. And
it's
then
more like a circle, isn't it?
The second
you go
time you
deeper,
hear it,
deeper, instead of being a linear thing.
Line, so definitely have more trust in the bad times as well.
Ooh.
So when it's not all fine and dandy.
You did kind of answer.
Yeah, so we already did the favourite quote and motto.
Yeah.
But to end on, we ask everyone,
what's your star sign?
I love that. What do you think it is?
Well, I probably Facebook stalked you,
I
so
was
I
gonna.
probably already know it.
What do you
See, I'm terrible. I'm really
tired.
tired. Whereas she's the one that tries to guess.
I look for people's qualities and I try and guess.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible guesser.
My friend Gemma again, who does a lot of videos with me. We sat down at dinner last year at some point. It was during one of the hard times, and we were like, she goes, "Oh, well, that just gives me really Cancer energy."
This is me.
And then what she does.
And so we Facebook stalked because I'm friends with him. And I was like, Jenny, right. I was like, oh my god. And she came up because we went to Hoysel together. And Callum, my partner, is a Taurus.
Yeah.
And this can go through, I don't know how into it you are, but apparently we're the most compatible star signs. You should know that.
Oh.
So.
You're Capricorn?
No.
Oh, I think that. No, but you, when we saw you at Fred and Magalee's clinic, you really remind me of my friend. And I was like, for the whole time I was watching, I was like, it's her.
Yeah.
So I think I thought I Facebook stalked you. So are you a Pisces?
Yeah.
I mean, she's what my friend is, and I was like, they're the same person.
Oh, it's angry.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was like,
yeah.
You really are.
What do you think we are? Or are you not?
I'm not
yes,
very
I'm
into it.
terrible.
Yeah. I'm really interested in it because Gemma scared me that day.
Yeah.
And I was like, how about this person? She'd be like,
this is me.
Scorpio.
This is what she does.
Yeah, and then we'd go and Facebook stalk, and I was like, you're right again. We did it with about 10 different
There's certain qualities of people, and then their moon rising comes in, you're like, oh, that's why I didn't quite get it.
Yeah. But we were all at horse together, and Callum is horsey, but he doesn't like the horsey world.
Yeah.
So we're walking around, and I'm like, wow. Like, oh, there's someone I know. Oh, there's another person I know. I'm like, da. And then Callum's like, God's sake, Mia, stop bumping into people. And like, really, and he's very like, oh, come on. And Gemma's like, oh, he's such a Taurus. She kept saying that, and he is. And
they're reliable and dependable.
very, very, very much so.
Yeah.
So
he grounds you.
Yeah, he is. He is my grounding force, and then I stopped him from being so grumpy.
Yes.
He's not that grumpy, but he can be. He's definitely going to be called grumpy when he's a grandkid. That sort of thing. So,
Wait, have you ever thought of star signs when it comes to the horses and their personalities?
No.
That's where I dive down.
Yeah, that's
We've got a lot of Tyrians here.
Yeah.
Oh, but then surely with horses, because it's more seasonal.
This is what I
This
thought,
is what
but
we
on
were
the
saying.
opposite hemisphere.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, you would you get like a certain bracket of horses, but then obviously on the other side of the world when they're born.
Oh.
So this is where my brain goes. So I manifested Rupert because I wanted a Tyrian.
Yeah.
My next horse to be Tyrian. And I had Nala in the stable who was a Tyrian mare. And then I was like, oh, I've just manifested them both. And then Rose turned up, who is also a Tyrian.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Just all these.
Yeah.
Minus Pete.
Dependable.
So we've got a Pisces, 2 Aries.
Who's the Pisces?
Nikos, my old.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He's
so
my
was
sensitive
Helen.
side.
She's Pisces.
I'm very
Who's
sensitive.
Pisces dog?
I don't know.
No, I don't know.
So funny. I love it. I love that. But it's because I'm curious about it only because my friend was so good at spotting.
Well, you always get it, and I'm like, I'm terrible at guessing.
Yeah.
Or I'll be really shocked by someone, and I'll ring her and go, "You never guess what?" And you're like, "I don't know what that means." And I'm like, "It must be them in my
But the one person is Anya Baran, so
we still
we're
don't
like
know.
fans of her.
You can't find out.
Because everyone you can find their birthdays and their star signs. I don't know.
It's hidden.
So if anybody knows, let me know.
Yes.
I need to know.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, thank you guys for having me.
It's
been amazing.
It was a great time. I had a great day with horses as well. It's been brilliant.
And lovely chat as well.
Yes. Thank you.
So where can people find you if they want to stalk you?
Website, Facebook, Instagram, Mia Rodley, or The Heart of Horsemanship.
And we'll put it on the little link thing.
And then our website's amazing, thanks to Gemma. So
we'll be taking a look now. I didn't know she was doing your calls.
Great, yeah. Dude,
And listen to the podcast, which is
Loose Horse Talk.
Loose
Thank
Horse.
you.
Yeah.
Guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Bye.